Hello, my name is Vic Gallardo and I'm the president and founder of New Principles Academy. Welcome to this first in a series of free videos that I hope will help you develop as you progress in your careers as professional educators and as principals. A little bit about my own background. I started in healthcare management. Actually, I started in healthcare serving patients as a physician's assistant many years ago, and that led to various positions as a manager. So I completed about 20 years. I've done everything from start clinics to form physicians organizations, to training physicians, to starting the first physician manager training program for a very large HMO. After that, I went very deeply into education and spent the last 16 years as a teacher, as an assistant principal, and more recently as a principal. I've also been a university prof, and I've also done a lot of executive coaching most recently. That's what I've been involved with, is coaching executives in the variety of different fields: manufacturing, aerospace, technology, higher education, pretty much the gamut of the spectrum of management and leadership topics. I've been a management consultant specializing in organizational development, and that is really where I've been spending my time. Now, New Principles Academy, or NPA as I like to refer to it, is for principals in their first 3 years of practice. And why is that? Well, it's because it takes about 3 years to settle into your position. And so I was thinking when I was making these videos, well, who is my audience? Who are the people that really need to get this information? And it's for you. You're the reason I'm sitting here talking to you right now about what's ahead of you and what you can plan for. And I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit more detail in just a moment. So what I wanted to do was to share with you a little bit about my own experience, about where my desire to create videos and information on management practice came from. When I first started as a teacher and as an assistant principal, I noticed that when I got to the high school where I was working, that there were 4 principals that I knew in 5 years. So there was a turnaround just about every, 15 months, there was a new principal. And I wondered, well, why is that happening? Doesn't somebody have to stay in their position a while to make some changes? And so I really was very, very perplexed and puzzled by this change in principals. It seemed to me that if you don't have the leader at the helm for any length of time, then where is the organization going really? So then I realized, you know what? I investigated the background of these various principals, and I found out that even though they had been principals in other schools before coming to the school where I was working, they were not really trained as managers. New principals need training, mentoring, coaching, guidance. The role is very complex for anyone assuming the position as a principal. Some statistics show a first-year burnout is up to 50% with some principals in some districts. The pool of new principals, therefore, is actually shrinking. Those people that are in line or being trained or taking courses to become principals is not growing, it's declining. Now, one of the things that I have to talk to you about, and that I want to talk about quite a bit in my other videos, the CDs and the DVDs, is that no one talks about how political the principalship is. The principalship has to embrace a number of different stakeholders. Stakeholders are who? Well, obviously it's your faculty, it's the people who are your classified staff, it's the district office, it's the parents who are the leaders of the students, if you will, at home, and it's the community at large, including businesses. So I want you to remember that when you assume the principalship, you are also being looked at by these various stakeholders, and you are being judged, you're being evaluated. And so in order to get ready for that, you're not going to get that in grad school. You're not going to get that after you get your administrative credential. The only place you're going to get it is from people who have been there and can tell you this is what the road is like. Beware. Look out for these special indicators that will tell you you're going to hit something that I'm going to talk about in just a moment called a landmine. Now, before you get started with all of that information, you have to be able to understand that in order to lead others, you must be able to lead yourself. So, emotional intelligence, I'm going to talk about this in quite a bit of detail in the CDs and the DVDs. Emotional intelligence is a major and dominant prerequisite for your success. What does that mean? It means that you have to be a connected listener. You have to listen at a very deep level. You have to have a high degree of self-awareness. In short, you must know yourself. Now, maybe that sounds to you right now like, well, I know myself, but do you really? How are you with others? How are you yourself in those quiet moments when you, at the end of the day, are reflecting on how the day's activities went? Did you get done what you wanted to do? Were you patient? Did you get into an argument or a conflict with someone that you could have avoided had you been a little bit more self-aware? Another point that I want to raise with you, and I've referred to it just briefly now, is the psychological contract. So what is a psychological contract, and why do I spend so much time talking about it? The psychological contract is basically an exchange of expectations from one person with another. So in other words, when you come to me, let's say, as a teacher or as a classified person, and we sit down to talk about your job, I'm going to, of course, tell you what my expectations are of you on the job and what you can do as a citizen of our community. But I also want to give you the opportunity to tell me what you need and what you can expect from me, because you also have needs as an employee, as a faculty member, as a member of the PTA, whatever the organization is, whatever that stakeholder group is. You need to also be able to share your concerns, your interests with me as the principal. So it's very important to get that exchange of mutual expectations out on the table when you get started in your principalship. So when you start to settle in on the job as a principal, who's the first person you're going to have that psychological contract discussion with? Folks, it's your boss, or whoever does your performance evaluation. Very important to start that relationship with your boss and those significant others that are in your circle of acquaintances and decision makers, so that you can go ahead and move a lot more smoothly through some of the ups and downs of your principalship. Now, one of the problems that people don't really understand about why engage in the psychological contract, why is it critical? Well, because problems at work are created in an environment which is rich with assumptions. We all make assumptions about people. Too many people come to their own conclusions without investigating, without their motives, their ideas, their biases. Rumors and gossip abound in every school community because, let's face it, people like to talk. And they're going to talk about somebody in particular. Guess who? They'll be talking about the principal. Why did he say this? Or why did she do that? Why didn't she back this up? Well, people will exchange a lot of thinking about that, and possibly misguided thinking. So having a frank, open discussion puts an end to this unproductive behavior. So that is why I stress so much this whole concept of having the psychological contract. Next idea that I want to share with you that's very important to new principals is to be able to find and defuse what I call landmines. Okay, landmines are situations that you are not aware of but can blow up in your face. There'll be a negative surprise to you. I'm going to spend a lot of time showing you how to identify and defuse these troubling situations. I cover these in my 6-volume CD program and also in a mini book. It's a lot of the answers that are right in this little book. It looks like a little tiny little toy book, but it's not. If you need only one thing to take into your principalship, this is one of those things, because this is going to save you a lot of time. And you can get through this in a couple of hours. Of course, not only is this available, I'm available too over the line, and you over the net. We can talk. But anyway, I want to just give you this introduction to what we have to offer. Thanks so much for your attention. Bye-bye.